A road in Ramadan. I want to tell you something that happened to me. I'm not a writer, I'm not a preacher. I'm just a man who wants to say what happened slowly with all my heart, because if I do not say it, I think it will stay stuck inside my chest forever. My name is Ibrahim, and before that night, in the year 2019, I was a man who loved Allah with everything I had. I want you to understand this before I say anything else. I was not a bad man. I was not a man who was lost or confused about who he was. I knew who I was. I was a Muslim, born in a Muslim home, raised by a Muslim father and a Muslim mother, and I had prayed 5 times a day since I was a small boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old. My father was the one who taught me how to pray. He would wake me up before the sun, even when I was tired, even when I cried a little because I wanted to sleep more, and he would say, "Son, this is more important than sleep." My mother taught me how to fast during Ramadan slowly, first only half a day when I was young, and then, as I grew, the whole day, from before sunrise until the sun goes down completely. I am telling you all this not to make you feel sorry for me, and not to make you think I was some kind of person who needed saving from a bad life. No, my life before that night was a good life, a life I was proud of, a life built around trying to please Allah in every way I knew. But something happened to me one night, on a road, something I still find hard to put into simple words even now, years later, even after telling this story many times in my own heart before I ever told it to another person. That night changed everything I believed, everything I knew about God, everything I thought I was. And today, right now, I want to tell you this slowly. I do not want to rush it. I want you to feel a small part of what I felt that night, because words are weak things sometimes, and this is a story where words feel too small for what happened. Let me start from the beginning, the way it really happened. It was the month of Ramadan, in the year 2019. For those of us who grew up Muslim, you already know, Ramadan is the most important month on our calendar. It is the month when we fast from the first light of morning until the sun goes down, when we read the Quran more than any other time of year, when we try, with everything in us, to come closer to God. Every single year, during this month, many Muslims from all over the world travel to Mecca, because to pray there, in that holy place, during Ramadan, is something very special, something many of us dream about for years before we can actually do it. It is a dream to stand in front of the Kaaba with thousands and thousands of other people, all facing the same direction, all praying at the same time, and to feel, even just for a moment, that you are doing something big, something that matters for your faith. That year, 3 of my closest friends and I decided we would travel together to Mecca. Their names were Musa, Bilal, and Idris. We grew up together in the same small neighborhood, went to the same school as boys, prayed in the same mosque every Friday, and honestly, we were closer than brothers most of the time. Musa was the oldest of us 4, a quiet man, the kind of man who did not talk much, but when he did talk, you listened, because his words always had some weight to them. Bilal was the funny one. Even in hard moments, even when things were difficult, Bilal would find some way to make us laugh, sometimes at the worst possible time, which somehow made it even funnier. And Idris, he was the youngest, full of energy, always asking questions, about everything, about small things and big things, the kind of young man who could not just accept an answer, he had to understand why. I loved these 3 men like they were part of my own body. We had planned this trip for almost 2 months before it happened. We saved a little money each week from our jobs. We arranged our work schedules so we could all be free at the same time. We told our families we would be gone for some days, maybe a week or a little more. And finally, the day came when we packed our small bags and got into my car to begin the journey toward Mecca. I remember that morning so clearly. It is strange how some mornings just stay in your mind forever, sharp, like it happened only yesterday, even though years have passed now. The sun was not even up yet when we left our town. The sky had that dark blue color, the color it becomes just before the sun starts to rise, when everything outside is quiet and still, when even the birds have not started their noise yet. We had our small bags in the back of the car. We had dates for breaking our fast later that evening, some bottles of water, and our prayer mats rolled up carefully so they would not get dirty. All of us were excited. I will not pretend we were not. Idris talked the whole first hour about how he had heard the food in Mecca during Ramadan is something unforgettable. how the streets fill up with people from every country in the world, every color, every language, and how the feeling of standing near the Kaaba for the first time is something you simply cannot explain to another person. You have to feel it yourself. Bilal kept teasing him about this, saying, "You talk like you have already been there 10 times, but this is your very first time. Calm yourself down, little brother." We laughed a lot that morning. We were happy, and even though the road ahead of us was long, our hearts felt light, like nothing in the world could weigh us down. I was the one driving, since it was my car. I had driven this road before more than once, so I felt comfortable behind the wheel. The road that leads toward Mecca from where we lived passes through some areas with mountains, some flat desert land that stretches out as far as your eyes can see, and then some parts where the road becomes narrow and climbs up and down through hills. It is a beautiful road in some places, truly beautiful, but it can also be a dangerous road if you are not careful because of the sharp turns and because some drivers go too fast through parts where they should slow down. We drove for many hours that day. We stopped one time to pray and to rest a little, and we ate something small before the fasting time began for that day. After that stop, we continued on. By the time the sun was high in the sky, the heat outside was strong enough that even with the air conditioning working hard inside the car, you could still feel the warmth pressing against the windows. Musa was sitting in the front seat beside me. Bilal and Idris were in the back, talking about something funny that had happened to one of them at work the week before. I remember I was smiling, listening to their voices behind me, even while my eyes stayed on the road ahead. Now I want to tell you about the part of the road we were on when it happened. It was a section that goes through some hills, with turns that come one after another, sharp turns, and on one side of the road there is a steep drop down into a valley full of rocks. Many people who travel this road know that this particular part is not easy, and you must drive with great care there. I knew this. I had driven through this exact part of the road before more than once. I was not driving fast. I want you to understand this clearly, because it matters to me that you understand it. I was driving at a normal speed, maybe even a little slower than normal, because I knew this section needed extra care, and I always gave it that care. And then it happened. I still do not know how to explain in simple words what happened next, even now, even after thinking about it so many times in the years since. One moment everything was completely normal. The car was moving smooth, the sound of the engine was normal, my 2 hands were on the wheel, my eyes were watching the road in front of us. And then, in the very next moment, something went wrong with the car. I felt the steering wheel pull hard to one side, like something had grabbed it from outside and yanked it. I tried to hold it straight, I tried with all my strength, but it would not listen to me anymore. At the same moment, I heard a sound coming from the front of the car, a sound like something had broken, metal hitting metal, and the whole car began to shake. Everything after that happened so fast. The car moved toward the side of the road, toward the edge, toward that same drop I had just been telling you about a moment ago in my mind. I remember pressing down on the brake, but the car did not slow the way it should have. I remember Musa shouting something beside me, though even now I cannot tell you what words he actually said. His voice was just pure sound, pure fear, nothing more. I remember Bilal and Idris in the back, 2 voices full of shock. The kind of fear that rises up from somewhere deep inside a person. The kind that your body understands before your mind even finishes forming the thought. The car struck the edge of the road. I felt the front of the car drop down, like we were falling, like the ground had simply disappeared from under us. For maybe 1 second, maybe even less than 1 full second, but a second that felt so much longer than it should have, I felt my whole body lift up from the seat, like there was no gravity holding me down anymore, like everything around me was floating in the air. I closed my eyes. I believe, though I cannot say for certain, that all 4 of us closed our eyes in that same moment. And inside my heart, in that 1 small second, I said the words I had been taught to say since I was a very small child, words I had said thousands of times in my life without ever really thinking about them too hard. But in that moment, I said them with everything that was inside me. I said, "Allah, save us." That was all I could think. That was the only thing in my whole mind. And then, everything went dark. I do not mean dark the way night is dark. I mean dark, like my own mind simply stopped working. I do not remember the car falling the rest of the way down. I do not remember the sound of the actual crash, even though later, when we finally saw the car again, we understood there must have been a terrible crash, because the car was destroyed. I do not remember any pain. I do not remember hitting anything at all. There is only a moment where everything simply stops, like a video that pauses suddenly in the middle of a scene, and then, after that pause, a moment where everything starts again, but somehow in a completely different place. When I opened my eyes again, I was not inside the car anymore. I need you to really understand what I am telling you here. I was not inside the car. I was standing. My own 2 feet were on solid ground, not falling through the air, not floating, just standing there normally, as if I had been standing in that exact spot the whole time. And right next to me, I saw Musa. He was standing too, looking as confused as I felt. A little further away, I saw Bilal and Idris, also standing on their own feet, also looking around with their eyes wide open, their faces full of shock and confusion. For a moment, none of us said one single word. We just looked at each other, and then we looked around us, trying somehow to understand where we were and what had just happened to us. We were standing on the side of the road, near the very edge, the same edge where I had felt the car go down only moments before. And below us, down in that valley among the rocks, I saw my car. It was down there, lying on its side, the front part completely crushed, one of the doors hanging open, and a thin line of smoke rising up from somewhere near the engine. It looked terrible. It looked like a car that no person could possibly walk away from. It looked like a car where, if people had been sitting inside it when it went down like that, those people would not be alive anymore. But we were standing up here on the road, not down there in that valley. All 4 of us standing, and not one of us had even a small scratch anywhere on our bodies. Not one. I checked my own arms, my legs, touched my face with my hands, nothing. I looked over at Musa, and he was doing the exact same thing, looking down at his own hands like he could not believe what his eyes were showing him. Bilal's mouth was open, but no sound was coming out of it. And Idris, the youngest of us, the one who was always full of energy and always full of questions, he was standing completely still, completely silent, which was something I had never once seen from him in all the years I had known him. How did we get from being inside that car, falling down into that valley, to standing here, safe, unharmed, without even a bit of dust on our clothes? I asked myself this question over and over in those first few seconds, and I had no answer. Then I want to tell you about something else, something that happened in that very same moment, something I have thought about every single day since that day happened. There was a man standing with us. I do not know exactly when he arrived. I did not see him walk up to us or come from any direction at all. It was as if, in the same instant that we found ourselves standing there on the road, he was already there too, standing a small distance away, watching us. I want to try to describe this man to you, but I want to be honest, it is not easy, because there was something about him that felt different from any person I had ever seen before in my whole life. He was not dressed strangely. He looked like an ordinary man, wearing simple clothes, nothing that stood out at all, but there was something in the way he looked at us. When my eyes met his eyes, I felt something happen inside my chest, like my heart suddenly became warm, like something was reaching in and touching my heart gently from the inside. I cannot explain this feeling any better than that. It was not fear, even though everything happening around us should have made us afraid. Instead, it felt like peace, a kind of peace that entered my body and made all the fear that had been there only seconds before simply disappear, like it had never even existed. The man did not say very much at first. He simply looked at each one of us, one at a time. When his eyes met mine, I felt like he was looking directly inside me, not just at my face, but into the parts of myself that even I do not usually look at, the parts of my own heart that I keep hidden, sometimes even from myself. And I did not feel shame in that moment, even though I am a man who has done things in his life that he is not proud of, things I had asked Allah to forgive many times over the years. When this man looked at me, there was no shame in me. I felt seen. I felt known, completely known. And somehow strangely, I felt loved, even though I did not know this man at all, had never met him in my life. Musa, who was standing closest to him, was the first one among us to find his voice. It was shaking when he spoke. He asked, "Who are you?" How did we get here? What has happened to us? The man smiled at Musa's question. It was a gentle smile, not the kind of smile that makes fun of someone's confusion, but the kind of smile a father gives his children when they have been badly frightened, but are now safe. And in that gentle way, he answered, though he did not answer with a long explanation right away. He simply let us know, in a way I felt more than heard, that we had called out for help, and that he had come. I thought back immediately to my own words, the words I had said in that 1 second before everything went dark. Allah, save us. Was that what he meant? Had he heard that? Who was this man standing in front of us? Idris, finally finding his voice again, pointed down toward the wrecked car in the valley and said, almost crying now, that is my friend's car. We were inside it. We were falling. How are we here? How are we not down there with it? The man looked down at the broken car too, and then he looked back up at each of us. And he let us understand, in that same quiet way, that he had brought us out before the fall could cause us any harm, and that none of us would be hurt that day. I remember standing there listening, or rather feeling these things being made known to me, and something inside my own chest felt like it was breaking open. Not breaking in a bad way, breaking the way something hard and closed for a very long time finally starts to open up. I looked at this man, and I asked him the question that was burning the strongest inside me, the question I believe all four of us wanted to ask, but I was the one who found the courage to say it out loud first. I asked him, please, tell us who you are. And he looked at me with those same eyes that made my heart feel so warm, and he told me simply that his name was Jesus. When I understood this, I felt my whole body go completely still. I believe all four of us felt the very same thing in that moment, because for a while none of us moved, none of us even seemed to breathe, none of us said anything at all. I want to explain something here, because I know that maybe not everyone reading this understands what this meant for someone like me, someone raised as a Muslim from birth. In Islam, we do know about Jesus. We call him Isa. We are taught from a young age that he was a prophet, a messenger sent from Allah, a good man, a holy man, someone we are supposed to respect deeply. But we are also taught, very clearly, that he is not God, that he did not die on a cross the way Christians believe, and that he is not someone we should ever pray to or worship. He is a prophet, we are taught, just like Musa the prophet, just like Ibrahim the prophet whose name I share. Just like Muhammad, peace be upon all of them. That is what I had been taught my entire life. That is what I believed with my whole heart, right up until that day. So when this man told me his name was Jesus, so many thoughts rushed through my mind all at once. How could this be Jesus? Jesus lived so long ago, in a time far before any of us were born. How could he be standing here in front of us right now on this road? And if this truly was Jesus, why would he save us? Why would he choose, out of all the people in the world he could help, why would he choose to help 4 Muslim men who were traveling toward Mecca to pray? I did not say all of these thoughts out loud, but I think Jesus could somehow see them written on my face, because he spoke again, gently, in a way that felt like he was answering questions none of us had even said aloud yet. He made it known to us that he understood where we had been traveling and why we were traveling there. He let us know that he understood our hearts, that he knew we had been seeking God with everything we had inside us. And he wanted us to know, he made this clear to me somehow, that he saw us and that he had always seen us. Bilal, who is normally the one among us who talks the most, who is always ready with a joke even in hard moments, he was the next one to speak, and his voice was so small, so different from how he normally sounded. He asked, "Are we dead? Is this what happens after a person dies? Have you come to take us somewhere?" Jesus shook his head gently at this question. He let us understand that we were not dead, that we were alive, and that we would continue living. He made it clear to us that he had not brought us to this place to take us away from our lives, but because he loved us, and he wanted us to know that he was real, and that he was near to us, even in the times when we never called out his name at all. I remember those words settling into me so deeply, even when you do not call my name, because in my whole life, I had never once called on the name of Jesus in prayer, not one single time. I had always called on the name of Allah, the way I was taught to do since I was a small child, and yet here was this man telling us that he had heard us and that he had come. We stood there together for some time after that, talking, though I could not tell you exactly how long it lasted. I wish now that I could remember every single word, every one, because each thing he made known to us felt like it was sinking into my heart and staying there, not just passing through my ears the way ordinary words do. But there are parts of that conversation I remember very clearly, parts that feel like they are written permanently inside me now. Musa asked him why this had happened to our car, what had caused it. And Jesus let us understand something I have thought about many, many times since that day. He made it known to us that sometimes things happen in this life that cannot be understood with our eyes or with our minds alone. But he wanted us to know that nothing happens without his Father knowing about it. And he showed us that what could have been the ending for the four of us, he had turned into a beginning instead. A beginning, I held on to that idea for a long time after. A beginning. Idris, who was still looking back and forth between Jesus and the destroyed car far below us, asked another question, and I believe this question was the one that opened something even bigger inside all four of us that day. He asked, "If you really are Jesus, if you truly are who you say you are, then why would you save us? We are not Christians. We do not believe the things that Christians believe about you. Why would you do this for men like us?" Jesus looked at Idris for a long moment, and then he looked slowly at each one of us in turn. And what he made known to us in that moment, I will carry with me for the rest of my life. He let us understand that he had not saved us because of what we believed about him on that particular day. He had saved us because of who he is and because he loves us. He showed us that his love for us had already existed long before any of us were even born. He made it clear that this love does not wait for a person to understand it first. It comes first, always first, and then, if a person allows it, that love leads them toward understanding slowly in its own time. I felt tears coming into my eyes as this understanding settled into me. I am a grown man. I do not cry easily, I never have. But standing there on that road, feeling these things being revealed to me, I could not hold the tears back. And when I looked around, I saw that Musa was crying too. Even Bilal, the one who always hides his feelings behind jokes, his face was wet with tears. Idris was crying the hardest of all of us, like a small child, his shoulders shaking with it. I asked Jesus then, because I needed to know, what do you want from us? Why are you showing yourself to us in this way? What do you want us to do now? And he let us understand something that I hold on to even today. He made it clear that he was not asking us to throw away everything we had ever known or believed. He was asking us only to know him, not as some old story we had been told about, not simply as a name we had heard mentioned in passing, but as someone real, someone actually present, someone who loves us and wants to walk beside us for the rest of our lives. He showed us that the God we had been seeking all our lives, the very one we were traveling all this distance to try to find, was not far away in some place we needed to travel toward. He was already close, closer than we could imagine, standing right there in front of us. I want to be honest with you about something. In that moment, my mind and my heart were fighting each other. My mind, the mind that had been trained since I was a small boy, the mind that knew all the rules, that knew exactly what we had been taught about who Jesus is and who he is not, my mind kept saying, "This cannot be right. This does not match what you have always known to be true." But my heart was saying something completely different. My heart kept saying, "This is real, this is true, you can feel it. Do not run from this feeling." I believe Jesus saw this struggle happening inside each of us because he made something known to me that helped more than anything else that day, something simple, yet somehow powerful beyond its simplicity. He let me understand that I did not need to have everything figured out that very day. I only needed to be willing. Was I willing to know him? And in that moment, without even stopping to think it through with my mind, my heart simply answered on its own. I said yes. I said it out loud, clearly. Yes, I am willing. And one after another, the others answered the same way. Musa said yes. Bilal said yes, tears still on his face as he said it. And Idris, through his crying, said yes too, but he added something more. He said, "Yes, and thank you for not letting us die today." Jesus smiled at all of us again, that same gentle smile from before. And he let us know, in that quiet way that felt more real than any spoken word, that from that day forward, our lives would not be the same as they had been. There would be people who would not understand what had happened to us. He showed us this clearly. There would be hard days waiting ahead of us. But he made it known, without any doubt at all, that he would never leave us, that He was with us in that very moment, and that He would remain with us always. After this was made known to us, something happened that I still find difficult to describe, even now, so many years later. He did not simply walk away from us the way an ordinary person would leave. It was not like He turned and left in any normal way at all. It was more like, one moment, He was standing there in front of the four of us, and the next moment, the space where He had been standing was simply empty. There was no sound when this happened, no flash of light, nothing dramatic in the way you might expect from such a moment. He was simply there, fully there, and then, just as simply, He was no longer there. We stood in that empty space for a long time afterward, none of us saying a single word. The sun was still hot above our heads. The road around us stayed quiet, no other cars passing by at that particular moment. Down in the valley below, the wrecked car remained where it had fallen, smoke still rising faintly from somewhere near its engine. And the four of us stood there, alive, completely unharmed, but changed inside in a way that none of us yet had the words to explain, not even to each other. After some time passed, a few cars did eventually come down that road, and some of the people driving them stopped when they noticed the wreckage down in the valley. They were shocked, understandably, asking us if we were okay. Asking how in the world we had survived such a fall, looking down at the destroyed car and then back up at us, as if they could not believe what their own eyes were showing them. Four men standing there without a single injury anywhere on their bodies. We did not know quite what to tell these strangers at first. What could we possibly say to explain it? How could we make them understand something we barely understood ourselves? We told them simply that we had been lucky, that somehow we had managed to get out of the car before it went all the way down into the valley. Some of them clearly did not believe this explanation, looking at how badly damaged the car was, but what else could we have said to them in that moment? We were still trying to understand everything ourselves. Some kind people from a nearby town helped us get transportation into town. We had to file a report about what had happened, deal with the car itself, which was completely beyond repair and had to be left where it was, arrangements made for it later. Through all of this, all the ordinary, practical matters we had to deal with that afternoon, none of us could stop our minds from returning again and again to what had happened on that road. None of us could stop thinking about Him, about Jesus, about His eyes, about the things He had made known to us. That night, the four of us stayed together in one small room in a hotel in that nearby town. We did not continue on toward Mecca that particular day, of course, because of everything we needed to deal with. But that night, sitting together in that one room, we talked openly, for the first time, about everything we had just experienced. Musa spoke first. He said, "I have been a Muslim my entire life. I have prayed every single day without missing. I have fasted every Ramadan since I was old enough to fast. I know the Quran well. I know everything we are taught about Isa. But what happened to us today, I cannot make it fit inside what I already know to be true. And I do not want to pretend that it did not happen simply because it does not fit neatly into my understanding." Bilal said, "I felt something today that I have never felt before in my entire life. Not during any prayer, not inside any mosque, not at any moment before this one. When he looked at me, I felt like he already knew everything about me, even the things I am most ashamed of, and yet he did not look at me with any anger at all. He looked at me only with love. I have never in my life felt loved in that particular way before." Idris, still looking shaken from everything that had happened that day, said, "I nearly died today. We all nearly died today. And instead of dying, I encountered someone, I do not even know the right word to use, someone who saved my life, who somehow knew things about me without me ever telling him, and who let us know that he loves us. How can I simply return to my ordinary life after something like this?" And I told them what was sitting inside my own heart as well. I said, "I have called on Allah my whole life, every single day. Today, in the one moment I truly believed I was going to die, I called on Allah, and it was Jesus who answered that call. I do not understand everything about what this means yet, but I know what I felt on that road. I know what I saw with my own eyes, and I cannot pretend to myself that none of it happened." We talked for hours that night, well past midnight, hardly sleeping at all. We talked about our whole lives, about everything we had been taught since childhood, about what we truly believed deep down, about what we had each felt that day out on the road. And slowly, over the course of that long night, and over the days and weeks that followed after we returned home, something began to shift quietly inside each one of us. We did continue our journey to Mecca eventually, after a few days had passed, once the matters with the car and the accident report had all been settled. We did go, and we did pray there, since we had already begun this journey before everything happened, and none of us yet knew what all of this would mean for the direction of our lives going forward. But I will be honest with you, praying there in Mecca, after what had happened to us on that road, felt very different for me than it ever had before. I stood there among thousands and thousands of people, in the very place considered the most important place of prayer in the religion I had grown up in, and the whole time, my mind kept returning to that man on the road. I kept thinking about his eyes, about the warmth that had filled my chest when he looked at me. After we returned home from that trip, our lives slowly began to change, exactly the way he had let us know they would. I will not tell you this change was easy, because it was not easy at all. We began, very quietly at first, very carefully, to learn more about who Jesus truly is, about what Christians believe concerning him, about the things written about his life. We found people, slowly, carefully, who were able to help us understand more, who had books we could read, who were patient enough to answer our many questions. I will say honestly that where we live, doing this kind of thing carefully matters a great deal, and there are risks involved even now, both for myself and for my family, if certain things about my life were to become widely known. I cannot go into every detail of this part of the journey for that reason. But I want you to know that the four of us, Musa, Bilal, Idris and myself, all four of us, each in our own time and in our own particular way, came to truly know Jesus, not only as the one who had saved our lives on that road, but as someone we now follow with our whole hearts, every single day since. It has not been an easy road, if you will forgive me for using that word again, after everything I have already told you about roads. There have been difficult conversations with family members who could not understand the changes they began to see in us. There have been moments filled with real fear, moments of deep loneliness, because some people we love very much simply do not understand this change, and some of them have turned away from us because of it. There have been nights when I cried, not because I regretted anything that had happened to me, never that, but because the cost of walking this new path has weighed so heavily on my heart at times, especially concerning people I love deeply and do not wish to lose. But every single time it has become hard to bear, I return in my mind to that road. I remember that man standing there, with eyes that looked directly into my very soul and did not turn away from what he saw there in disgust. I remember him letting me know that he was with me then and that he would be with me always. And I know, even during the hardest days, that this remains true. I have felt his presence with me in ways I cannot always fully explain, in small quiet ways, and in larger ways too, exactly as he had promised that day. I think often about Musa these days. He has become something like a quiet teacher among the four of us now, the one the rest of us turn to when we have difficult questions, when our own faith feels weak or uncertain, when we simply need someone to sit and pray alongside us. Bilal still makes his jokes, that part of him has never changed, and I hope it never does. But now, sometimes right in the middle of one of his jokes, he will suddenly pause and say something so deep about his faith that it surprises all of us into silence for a moment. It is as if the joy he carries now runs even deeper than it ever did before. And Idris, our youngest, he has grown so much since that day on the road. The boy who was always asking endless questions now spends much of his time trying gently, carefully, patiently, to help other people find their own answers too, in whatever small ways he is able. As for myself, I think about that road almost every single day of my life, even now, years later. Sometimes, when I am driving somewhere else entirely, on roads that have nothing at all to do with that particular one, I will pass a sharp turn, or I will see a valley beside the road, and something in my heart will remember. And in those quiet moments, I always find myself saying a quiet word of thanks. Not the same words I said on that day, not Allah save us, but a new kind of prayer now, one that comes from a heart that knows clearly who answered that call and who has never once stopped answering since. I do not know who exactly is reading these words right now, or what you personally believe, or what difficult things you yourself have lived through in your own life. But before I finish, I want to say something to you from my heart, honestly. If you are someone who has spent your whole life seeking something you cannot quite put a name to, something that feels like it is still missing no matter how much you pray, no matter how carefully you try to do everything correctly according to everything you were ever taught, I want you to know something. There is someone who sees you completely. There is someone who knows your heart fully, even the parts of it you hide away from everyone else around you, even the parts you sometimes hide from your own self. This someone, his name is Jesus, and his love for you does not wait until you understand it fully first, and it does not wait until you feel you deserve it first, and it does not wait until you feel ready for it first either. That day, on that road, 4 of us believed we were doing everything correctly in order to find God far away in some holy place we needed to travel toward. And what we discovered instead was that God was never far away at all. He was right there with us the entire time, in our car, in our fear, in that single second before everything went dark around us. And he was still right there when we opened our eyes again afterward, standing in front of us with eyes full of love, simply waiting patiently for us to say yes. My name is Ibrahim, and this is my testimony exactly as I lived it. My life was very nearly taken from me on a road out in the desert one afternoon during Ramadan, but instead of ending there, my true life began on that very same road. I pray, wherever you find yourself right now, whatever road you may be traveling on at this moment in your own life, that you will come to know you are never truly alone, and that you are loved far more deeply than you have ever fully understood.